Are you concerned about Carson Wentz?
I am. The Eagles' big issue right now is team speed.
Okay.
Both sides of the ball, right? Their secondary is not fast enough. Guys can run right by them. And without Deshaun Jackson, they really don't have a vertical passing threat. No one to take the lid off the defense, as they say. And Stephen A., the problem is, you know how Peterson was given a lot of flack for, or at least criticism for, or by way of explanation, people were saying when Foles was in, he simplified things. With Wentz, he's trying to do too much. In fact, what I saw was Wentz trying to do too much. Wentz is acting as though there is a vertical passing threat when there isn't. So he's forcing the ball down the field where it doesn't belong. Mm-hmm. They need much more of a horizontal passing game, right? Mm-hmm. He should take those short passes. They're available. They could go down the field. But in the entire game, maybe there were 2 shots that he took down the field. Well, actually, the entire game, you want to know the truth? I saw 2 good passes all game, 2 good throws from Wentz all game. There was down the field to Alshon, right? And then there was like a 15-yard pass to Zach Ertz. Maybe part of the problem is Wentz has heard the criticism, you just like to pass to Zach Ertz, and that's the problem. And he's got a little bit rabbit ears or trying to disprove that or trying to be a better leader and not just favor one guy. Whatever it is, Stephen A., it's Wentz trying to do too much, not taking what the defense is giving him and accepting the reality of his own offense. And I got to tell you, I think for the second week in a row where I've heard certain people praise Wentz, I thought he was terrible. That's the second time. That's the second week in a row. His talent is obvious. He can do things most other quarterbacks can't. In fact, we talk about Deshaun Watson, and Watson has all that leadership stuff that I don't see from Wentz in terms of getting guys to want to play and all that stuff. But in terms of pure talent, other than Mahomes, Wentz is right there, if not number 2, close to it, of all the young guys. He's been inconsistent, and this season, at least watching him, that's what I see. He's acting as though he's playing on a different team. They don't have the downfield weapons.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you strongly about that because I don't think Wentz is the problem. I think their defense is a problem, and I think to some degree, some of the guys on offense, Nelson Aguilar, Alshon Jeffrey, they weren't getting separation. When you look at about 8 yards per catch or whatever, that's puny. They could be doing better. Excuse me. He targeted Zach Ertz 9 times, only connected with him on 4 occasions. That's usually a security blanket for him. I get all of that. We're also going against a playoff-ready defense in the Minnesota Vikings. By the way, who was it, Molly? Max, was it Zach Brown that talked junk about Kirk Cousins last week coming into the game?
Yep.
Right.
No, yeah.
Mm-hmm. For the Eagles, he should be ashamed of himself. After the post-game interview, very, very weak and pathetic on the part of Zach Brown. You're going to call out Kirk Cousins before the game, then he shreds you, and then all of a sudden you got nothing to say. You want questions about the game. Excuse me, that was the game. Kirk Cousins threw for over 330 yards for crying out loud. He connected with Stephon Diggs all day long. Rasul Douglas, Sidney Jones, it was a bad day for both of those brothers. Diggs was giving it to them. They got completely obliterated and embarrassed. And you can't get Jalen Mills back soon enough. But in the end, what it comes down to is that the Eagles secondary, the same secondary that had given up 48 practically, the same secondary practically that had given up 48 to the New Orleans Saints last year during the regular season before they stirred things in the right direction. They're looking eerily close to that right now as a secondary. They look absolutely pathetic. It's a problem. Slow. And so when you have a secondary that can't stop the pass, that all of a sudden puts more pressure on your offense to do some things. I look at Wentz, it's not stellar, please don't get me wrong, but when you say terrible, I'm thinking about the position that he's been put in, I'm thinking about guys that are not getting open, and I'm thinking about additional pressure added to his responsibilities. You have no pass rush right now. Your secondary is poor as hell. You take those 4 things into consideration, you got yourself a problem. If I'm Carson Wentz and I'm looking at myself thinking that I need to find a way to make a play, of course I'm going to look at it. You're right when you sit up there and say, okay, they're applying pressure, but it may not be what he believes it. But what I'm saying to you is if I see guys gaining traction, that's one thought. The other thought that automatically comes into play, do I have faith you're going to get open? In other words, if I'm playing in a system where I can throw the ball here and I know you're going to be there, then excuse me, I don't feel that pressure as much.
I agree.
But if cats ain't getting open,
I agree.
We got a problem.
If I could throw the ball here, but he's trying to throw the ball down there to Aguilar as though that's Deshaun Jackson. It's not. He's taking deep shots to Aguilar down the field that he shouldn't be taking. And by the way,
why are you mentioning Wentz instead of Doug Peterson? I'm saying if that's the play that's called, right?
Yeah, Peterson bears some responsibility, but a lot of people have put that on Peterson. He's trying to do too much with Wentz. I see Wentz because I also see, and maybe it's because he's taken too many shots and he's been too much of a tough guy. Wentz is a tough guy. But I also see him a little shell-shocked in the pocket at times. I
don't see that.
I have seen it with Wentz. Again, I know what it sounds like when one of us gets on a guy and starts to focus on him. People think I have something against James Harden. I don't. They come into your kind of, view and you pay close attention to certain issues. I see it with Wentz. The team comes out flat. And right now, to me, he's not playing a smart brand of football, and also he's playing a rattled brand of football. I'm telling you, he hasn't been good for at least 2 weeks now.
Are you more concerned about Wentz than Dak?
No, because Wentz's upside, to me, he's capable of doing things physically. You could even see, I mentioned the 2 passes yesterday. Most other guys, even in this era of very talented quarterbacks, dual threat quarterbacks, strong arms, everything, Wentz makes plays, you go, you don't see that every day.
Yeah.
He's a super talented quarterback in a way I don't think Dak is. But
Stephen,
right now, he's not playing good football.
More concerned with Wentz or Dak at this point, now that both teams are 3-3?
Believe it or not, you know what? I can honestly say, Molly, I can't answer that question. Here's why. I have concerns about Wentz because of the team that he's around. I have concerns about Dak because of Jason Garrett. That's where my dilemma lies. Now, you tell me who should be a greater concern. Should it be Jason Garrett? Because when we look at the Dallas Cowboys, there's no question in their talent. We know they have the talent. You have a talent issue with the Eagles secondary. There is a talent
the secondary
issue.
is a disaster.
There's a talent issue with the Eagles secondary, and there's a talent issue with their receiving core without Deshaun Jackson. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.